On this episode, we revisit a trip to Austin, Texas a couple weeks back with my friend and travel partner, Mr. Steve Seitner.
Hey, everybody.
Atlas All Access starts now. Okay, so Mr. Seitner, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So,
Must not have butchered this too bad the first time through. Huh?
No, you did okay. Yeah. You did okay. It wasn't one of our mower watched videos, but you know, you did fine. I'm just kidding, of course. So let's talk about this. So a couple weeks back, you and I went down to Austin, Texas, to
Great city.
It was a great city. I was really surprised how awesome it was down there.
It's like San Diego, but without the ocean. It was fantastic.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah. So we went to the the SIA North American Executive Forum. That's a mouthful.
You got it down, though.
That's a lot. So Staffing Industry Analyst is the governing body?
I think they're kind of like the premier resource, or maybe not governing body, because they're not like issuing, the ability to keep our doors open or regulating our ability to do work, but I think they keep track. They're kind of like the keep everybody honest body of the staffing world, maybe is a better way to put it.
And they deal with all types of staffing.
Yeah, there's a lot more out there than just healthcare. Engineering, STEM, accounting, skilled labor.
We had to Google what STEM was when we were there.
Science, technology, engineering, mechanics, or something like that.
You remembered. That's awesome. We had to Google
STEM.
Yeah.
STEM, up and coming.
In my world, it's just us, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not for us. We're healthcare and
right.
true to that. So.
Right. But it was good to get out and visit with other companies out there not only in our industry, but in just staffing in general, and get an idea of kind of where the road is going and what it looks like, not only next year, but in 2021 and 2025 and, down the road.
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit. One, why did we go? I think that's an important question. Why did we spend money? Why did Atlas spend money for us to go down? And besides just riding bird scooters all over Austin and eating tacos, why did we go?
Yeah, I think as we're sitting in our 7th year in existence, we're kind of finding that we do have our feet underneath us. And I think up until this point, we've been a very reactionary company and kind of just rolled with the waves, per se, as they've come in. And I think trying to start doing some more of these things is just trying to be a little bit more educated, have a little more skin in the game, and start making some decisions maybe in a little more proactive manner. When we go to these things, these are the people who make all of their money by simply being able to hopefully predict the future a little bit with respect to staffing trends, technology trends. And I think getting in there and hearing what they have to say, they believe are possible threats or changes to the future will help us make decisions and make our company better going forward. So I think that's mainly why we went down there to participate.
And I think just from my standpoint too, as one of the owners of Atlas, it was important to get out and really understand what other owners are thinking too. Yeah. And what I found, and this kind of goes into my next question, is what did we learn? What I found there was, some of them are who we thought they were.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, and not that that's bad.
Yeah.
It's just the perception is reality, and that's how it is.
But I think on the flip side,
there are some pretty amazing companies out there.
Absolutely.
We connected with some unbelievable people.
Yeah.
And that was the most valuable part to me.
Yeah, I think coming home with some resources, just some like-minded people, and I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It might catch people off guard to think that, hey, maybe we're talking behind the scenes with people who we compete with every day for nurses, for jobs. Might not make a whole lot of sense. I think people coming from another industry would knock their head on the wall when they hear that's going on.
Yeah.
But we do have, a nice little group of companies that we believe in, have a good goal in mind. And it's not just stuff in pockets,
Right.
Have good intentions and look at things in a similar fashion, but are also willing to challenge each other. Especially when you're kind of talking about the owner of a company going to these things, a lot of times people won't give you feedback. So when you're sitting in a room with peers, other owners of companies, and they're hearing your ideas and tearing them apart, I think that can only make you better if you're at least receptive to hearing what they have to say and looking at your internal processes. So some of those evening, later night discussions we had, right, where it's just all of us sitting around, and you have me and you and another owner and then the CFO from that guy's company around. The exchange of ideas
and the exchange of just general information was eye-opening to
Very
me.
much so.
It really was. And I brought back a ton of good ideas, like, how did we not think of that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they brought back the same thing too. Like, some of the feedback I received just through text messages and emails later was, it was awesome to meet you guys. We never would have gone this route, but I'm going to give this a shot now. Like, I'm going to try this kind of thing. And it's, like I said, it's like-minded companies. It's companies that think very much like Atlas, where they put the nurse first. That's, where hospitals and contracts are very important, but you understand supply and demand
Completely.
and working towards doing everything we can for that supply side, for the nurse or the therapist or the tech in the hospital, as easy and seamless as possible. And they're doing the exact same thing that we are.
Yep.
So, okay, so all of that in check. Where is, from what you experienced there, where are we going? What's kind of the state of the industry as you saw it right now?
Yeah, I think a year ago there was a lot of conversation at almost all of these events we were going to about this pending recession that is just inevitably going to happen. I think one of the things they touched on is that we're at the longest period of prosperity, economic prosperity in the history of the United States. There's been somewhere around like 120 consecutive months of growth when it comes to the economic development. So how that impacts the hospitals, I mean, more money being spent means hospitals have more money to spend. What that means is they have more money to bring in contract employees. So it's a good indicator of what the future is going to hold for us. I think going out there was a lot of thoughts that there's going to be a market correction at some point. And we're not talking the downturn of 2009. Nothing as scary as that.
Right.
But a recession nonetheless. A recession is basically defined as 2 back-to-back quarters of negative growth. And that could be 0.000001 backed up by another 0.0001. So it could almost look like a leveling off. But that is the actual definition of a recession. So I think the thought process is that it is coming. I think a lot of people have been talking that it was inevitably going to hit in 2020, which is only a year away.
Right.
But I think one of the big things sitting in that chair, I think it's Chase, the JP Chase or JP Morgan, the big bank,
JP Morgan Chase.
Their indicators show that it's got a more likely an 80% chance of hitting in 2021 now. So that's good. If you're looking for the current time frame, leveraging current opportunities over future opportunities, that's positive feedback. So, and I think the overall impression too is whatever correction is coming is not going to be too terribly damning. So that's kind of one of the big positive takeaways I took, is that what's coming is further down the road than maybe initially thought, and when it does hit, it's not going to be as bad.
I think one of my takeaways to piggyback along with that is, and we've learned a lot, and I've said this a lot as Atlas has grown. Being in Omaha and having the experience of all the people that we have here, we've seen what not to. I don't ever wish to speak negatively about anyone, but it's very easy to see, okay, that didn't work. We're not going to do that, right? And if we insulate ourselves, we're going to have a much, much better chance of surviving.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of the other things that came out of this is just the industry trend towards almost consolidation. The top 5 largest companies are accounting for a larger percentage of the healthcare workforce than ever before.
Right.
So, you just got to kind of be mindful of that. And how are you going to separate? Are you going to partner? Are you going to compete? And those are some of the stats we came home with to try and help make decisions for our company and our employees and our travelers' best interest going forward.
Well, and partner doesn't necessarily mean sell, right? I mean, partner
does not mean sell for us.
No. Partner means, okay, I see you're doing something right.
Yeah.
We can get on board with that and pay you a fee, or you pay us a fee, or whatever that case might be.
Or as a veteran-owned company, do we bring some value that maybe you don't independently have? As a large company, a lot of times they don't have access to certain programs that maybe a company like us could open a door to. So, looking at things like that. Beyond that, we're in the day and age of technology. Artificial intelligence has started to work its way into our industry, and just trying to get some people's thought processes on how that is actually going to have a fallout or an impact, not necessarily a fallout, but how that will impact the industry. And I think there's a lot of hands in the air because the healthcare sector of staffing is actually a pretty small piece. There's a lot of big companies that have already been doing this for years and years, some very well, some not so well. And I think the verdict is still out as to whether it is going to be able to get a firm foothold within the healthcare staffing world, because again, it is so people-based,
Right.
relationship-based.
Well, I think that's one of my bigger takeaways too from the speakers that we saw there, was as much as most of the breakout sessions were either about AI or about like culture, like the bulk of them were about those two things really.
Completely.
And how does one kind of jive with the other? I thought it was interesting that there was a fun contrast between those two. That AI is artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is no person involved. You're talking to a computer.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, you have companies that are going to watch a guy talk about, how do you build a positive culture at your company or whatever. And my first thought going into that one that we watched was, if you got to go to if you're going to a breakout session about how do you build positive culture at your company, then you've probably already lost.
Yeah.
I ended up taking a lot away from that guy.
He was awesome.
That guy was great.
Yeah, he was highly, highly entertaining. So.
Yeah, we'll put the link to the guy down in here. But
Well, and why that's important, if we have a good culture, in theory, that means we have happy employees. Happy employees work harder and take better care of people,
Right.
So that's why the culture, maybe for somebody on the outside, why are we talking about our company culture? That would be the impact for people maybe who are working for Atlas outside these walls.
So that was it. Besides us riding all over Austin in these little bird scooters.
I wish I'd have known about that before they were a thing and bought into that.
I would, me too. So if you're in a major city somewhere like Austin or San Diego, or they were in Phoenix too, I think.
Do you need to insert a disclaimer here?
I probably should. So they have these scooters that work just like an Uber, kind of. And there's an app on your phone, and you walk up to these scooters, which are everywhere, by the way. And you scan the little QR code, and then the scooter is live, and they go like 20 miles an hour.
They can go 20 miles an hour down the street.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be on the sidewalks.
Nope.
Potholes are a thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
ER visits are going up.
Absolutely.
But they are fun.
So we had a lot of fun doing that. If you ever have a chance to experience that in a big city, I would definitely take advantage of that. So, but then the tacos we ate down there were pretty fantastic too.
Again, I think Austin as a whole is a massively amazing city and
Yep.
extremely appealing. And I guess I don't know if it's self-claimed or proven to be, but the fastest growing city in the United States right now.
I could see that. I could see why. It was pretty fantastic down there.
But, all in all, I think SIA did a great job. A lot of information was doled out over 3 days. A lot of it, was staffing specific, not very healthcare specific. But there was one segment where they jumped in and they do predict a 4% increase in 2019 in the healthcare staffing world. So that was some pretty solid data that gives us a lot of hope. I think last year they were predicting 3%. So they've had roughly a 33% predicted improvement of staffing growth this year. I think that's paired up with the belief that recession is pushing back a little bit. So the indicators for the year are positive. I think it's been 4% projected multiple years in a row. Now, again, that doesn't mean every company is going to grow at 4%. That means the industry as a whole. Some companies are going to grow tremendous. Some companies are going to suffer and shrink. But I think, again, that just goes to the overall picture of the industry. It's still strong. The economy is still strong. So
if you're thinking about traveling or you're doing it and thinking, should I keep doing this?
Yeah.
I believe just for the future, and this is my last question, the future of our industry, at least for the next couple of years, it is very positive.
Very positive, especially because, as much as we are a company that tries to take advantage and get ahead of technology, maybe be early adopters per se, there are some big time technological advances that other companies are starting to work on. We might not have the budget to put into developing this stuff and testing it out and failing and just throwing money away. But at some point, somebody's going to find something that works, and I'd like to think that we'll be in a position to mimic it. So
absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to be the first. You just have to be the best.
Yeah.
And I kind of based a lot of Atlas on that. So there you go.
Well done.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. I hope that someday we get out on the road again, maybe, and even Austin. You never know.
Yeah, there is going to be a follow-up to this. There's a healthcare specific staffing summit that we will attend in November, so we'll be heading down to Vegas for that. So
excellent. All right, well, Steve, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with us today. We'll see you next week.